Hey everybody, Jamie French here, and I'm here with Wred Fawks. Say hi, Red.
Hey everybody, what's up?
Yes, this is a confluence of the Approximate Podcast and Graveyard Shift. Two shows in one. I'm putting my peanut butter in her chocolate and vice versa.
Dear.
So this is good. Yes, absolutely. This is gonna be great. So Red, I tell you what, you came up with the topics tonight. Let's just get right into it. You go ahead and you take it away. What do we got? What's the first thing on the list?
So the entire idea that sort of brought this up was we were having a little fucking DM back and forth, and we were sort of talking about untouchable social media shit, and especially dealing with the respect between the audience and the content creators. So why don't we start with that?
Okay, well, I definitely understand what that's all about when we're on social media. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but am I thinking the same thing that you're thinking when I say that there are people that I like? I like to think that social media is a thing where I go out and I can connect with people and everybody seems to be on an even kill. But there are these personalities, there's these people, some might call them heroes for lack of a better term. But there's these people that you seem to look up to and they feel like they're kind of untouchable, and to where you could talk to a certain person one way. There's nothing that, as far as you know, you're just online. As far as you know, there's nothing that separates this person that you're completely comfortable with from the person that you look up to. They're just people, but when you start to talk to that person that you look up to, you lose all your words, you know, and you feel fucked up. You feel like a loser, you know, and so why is that? Where's that come from? And it's really weird that you and I are talking like this, because where we stand right now, I mean, I didn't do this by design, but and you can tell me to shut the fuck up or if I'm wrong, but we're kind of in a position where maybe at least until recently, I mean, we've had that time to talk. We've built a rapport, but until recently, maybe you felt that way about me, and I definitely feel that way about other people. I mean, am I shitty for saying that?
No, you're not shitty for saying that. I mean, that's really actually close to the mark, I'd say. I mean, it's probably like a 50% hit is in terms of like what I was trying to get at or whatever when we were talking before.
Right. The audience doesn't know what we were talking about before. Just real quick, for the audience that's listening to this show right now, we went through about an hour and a half of recording a complete podcast. We didn't capture any of it. We didn't capture any of it.
We completely fucked that up. We screwed the pooch on that.
Absolutely. And then before that show, we were talking so much that we thought, oh, we should make a podcast out of this. So we wasted an organic, what should have been a podcast, completely fucked it up on an hour's worth of non-podcast. And now here you are, the fruits of our labor.
Finally coming to fruition.
Hopefully you enjoy it. It's no good.
Well, hopefully it's kind of good.
I'm being a goof. I didn't mean to fuck you up. So am I shitty for saying that about where we stand?
I wouldn't necessarily say that you're shitty for saying that in terms of where you stand. I mean, especially coming from an audience member's perspective, which is where sort of I came from in our back and forth rapport. So
that's what I want to know, because I want to give that back and forth, because what I'm thinking is that we are not different at all. You know, it's like I said, there are a lot of people that I just talk to as people, and it doesn't feel like there's any kind of, it doesn't feel like there's, and I don't mean to sound like this, but it doesn't feel like there's power. There's any kind of power play. Like, I'm so high and I'm talking to a fan, you know. I feel like when I talk to people, I just talk to people. And I feel like from you, it's one of the like rare occurrences where I'm talking to a real person that's not just a fan that's interested in my most like surface level shit, that can come to me and is able to like connect and can talk to me like a real person, but then I still hear you say things like, "Oh, well, I thought you were this and I thought you were this and I didn't know I was going to be able to talk to you."
Yeah.
So I want to hear it from your end, and then I want to reinforce that you're not alone, because I also feel that from my end from so many people. So tell me what you think.
All right, so I sort of grew up between, in terms of like the content creation that I do, a little bit of, well, that issue of popularity and the ego that sort of comes with that. So you sort of get this idea that, once a person reaches a certain point, they're like, yeah, they don't want to talk with the fluff. They want to talk with, like, their core audience. And then it really concentrates even further down from there. So it's like you may have, like, these surface level fans, and they may be supporters on Patreon. They may commission you for work. They may be your fucking groupies when you're going out gigging for your music shit or whatever. But they end up feeling like they're the dirtiest dirt just because, like, they're not that cream of the crop of the fans. So it's like, that's sort of where I was coming from, being that sort of dirty dirt, surface level fan where it's just like, I mean, we've talked enough where it's like, that I'm not one of your patrons. I couldn't afford to be one of your patrons because my financial situation is something completely different topic.
Don't feel too bad. There's only 3 people that can afford to be our patrons at this
Oh
point.
my god.
But that's just for the podcast.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm known for. You know what I'm known for. Porn, and that's my bread and butter. That's where the people actually come in with the money, and they, put a roof over my head.
That's where I came from too, in terms of actually getting to get into contact with you.
Right.
And it's like when I first, fucking saw your social media presence, I just saw the ManyVid sales, everything for coming up with the approximate podcast and everything. I was just like, okay, like the porn, okay, that's one thing, that's cool. Like that's not necessarily something that I was completely interested in consuming.
Right.
I was more interested, honestly, in the podcast and the music that you put out. Personally.
Right. Well, right now, and I completely understand that. I expect a certain portion of society to, dig on the porn thing, and because the porn is such it's such a base animalistic thing that it is the kind of thing, like it's like hunger or sleep, or you're dealing with sex, and so that's the most apt to draw money out of people's pockets, because it's a necessity. Yeah. Sex is a necessity. Fantasy, a sexual fantasy, is a necessity. As humans, it's kind of what we do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's built into us.
Don't get me wrong. So I love your porn. I love a lot of stuff that you produce, and I do a bit of that too. Not necessarily all that much yet. With video, but like, I've been doing a lot of like drawing, and recently I've been getting back into trying to put together photo sets and trying to get at least solo shoots for now coming in. So it's like I can relate to that,
But in saying that, I wanted to point it out that everything is I don't want to sound like a fucking hippie douche, but just because I don't have the words at my faculty right now, I'll just put it simply like this. There is a yin and yang. There is a black and white. There is a balance that is to be met. And on one side of the balance is the consumer. Yeah. And on the other side is the provider. And I feel like you're more on the provider side. Now, you do like to consume, as do I.
Of course.
But you probably have more of a penchant to produce. You want to do the things that people enjoy more than you want to enjoy.
Yeah, that's really what brought me onto creating content on YouTube. Like,
Right. And so when you see me the way that you saw
Mhm.
me, that makes total sense because you recognized a part of me in yourself, but you knew you weren't on the, I guess, the quote unquote chaser side of the street.
Oh,
You
well, I
know,
mean,
you had an understanding, so
well,
you could see past my porn. You're like, oh, this person that does the porn thing. Well, yeah, they're on my radar for that, but I they're doing all these other things that I really actually respond to. There's a
yeah.
person behind the facade, behind the
Mhm.
fantasy. And right now, what I'm saying, I'm talking really big about myself on your behalf. I'm not trying to self-aggrandize at all. I'm just trying to move the conversation along. I mean, do I have it right?
Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, you sort of laughingly bring up the entire thing with the chaser side of it. I mean, at that sort of point in time where I was introduced to your content, that was before I really started transition. That was sort of like one of my last egg phases, where it's like I was thinking it's like maybe I'm not actually trans, maybe I'm just really attracted to trans people. So
Oh,
it's like that's
oh,
sort of where it came from. But
oh, wow, huh?
it's like I don't know. I mean, if we're touching on that, do you want to move on to that because we're both
Well,
trans girls?
almost.
Or you got a
That's
couple more
amazing, and
thoughts?
we are gonna get to that. But I kind of wanna wrap
Yeah,
this little portion of it
let's get
up.
this go. Let's get this done.
So, like from my side, um, I'm at a point right now where I'm doing everything I can to talk to fans, friends, uh, family, like they're just human beings. I'm kind of sick of that power play between famous people and folks you just get to know naturally. Everybody's human. There's no reason not to be able to talk to people like they're just fucking human, no matter how quote unquote big they are or how small and obscure they are. You just talk to folks like they're folks. And that's where I'm at. But I've definitely been in a position like uh, yours, even though I believe you're past that now. I believe that you feel like folks is just folks,
Mhm.
especially after dealing with a jerk off like me. Um,
I mean,
but but I feel like I don't want to treat anybody like we're talking about this very particular instance. We're dealing with a a kind of social interaction that's based off of a job. It's based off of a kind of power play, and you have to kind of like whoever's the hottest thing, you got to make friends with them. You got to network and build your own name. It's all about your name. It's all about who you are, what you've done, what your presence is, what the optics are on you. And that's a very uh it's it can wear on you. It can really wear on you as a human. So long as you're concerned with being a human. There are people out there where the game,
mhm,
quote unquote, is all they care about
mhm.
being. It's all they do.
I mean,
And I'm in a position where I recognize that that's the thing if I want to, progress higher and higher, but I also want to be a human
mhm.
being, and honestly, more often than not, I have put my foot in my own mouth for the sake of being a human being in
Oh,
spite of the business that I'm
oh my
in.
God,
I've I've
same boat.
I've I have fucked up a lot of jobs. I have fucked up a lot of you know, hey, I'm cool, you're cool, handshake kind of
Yeah,
things. I fucked so many instances of that up because I'm naturally predisposed to just want to be human more than chase the ambition side. But I do have that ambition side, and I have followed it, and I followed it on my own terms, and it has attracted other
Yeah.
people. And I got to be responsible for that and recognize it when I see it, and recognize that I'm also in that same position. It's a really weird, fucked up thing to
Yeah,
be in.
it is a rather strange dynamic. I mean, you bring up the entire thing of screwing the pooch on various different possible outcomes and ladder climbing possibilities. I mean, I've done that too on my own channel with some of the vague connections that I've been able to make.
Right.
And it almost sort of brings us back to a weird thing with community and the entire thing with Untouchables too, and the content creators in relation to the you know our audiences and such. I've always tried to be very active within my audience because I didn't want my audience to feel like they were just some faraway thing. Like, that's why some of the shit show streams that I had earlier in my content career on YouTube here got to be so messy and so fucked up because I was just sort of letting everyone come in. And it's like, I realize that there is some, like, there is some sort of power that has to be held and respected. But at the same time, that can't be completely put in where it's just like, where you get to the point where you're a complete tanky asshole and everyone gets the ditch. So long as
Right.
like,
Right.
you get to a point where that's bad, and you get to a point on the other end where you're just so laissez-faire, where that's just as bad.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it's really thing. Well, I'm sorry. There's this thing that I've been a piece of advice that I've been giving to everybody that's coming. Like, I've been in this business for 13
mhm,
years, and there's a specific piece of advice that I've learned over the years that I keep reiterating to folks that are in the entertainment business at large. It doesn't have to be
mhm,
porn. It doesn't have to
mhm,
be music. It doesn't have to be art. Any creative endeavor where the cult of personality plays into your brand should heed this advice. And that advice is that I've always said was you should compartmentalize. You should have your actual human life should be completely separate from the brand that you've created. And this is where it gets really hard because you have people that are awesome
mhm.
and they come to you because they know the showman side of your life.
Yep.
And you see them and you're like, well, I understand that you're here because of the artifice. You're here because of this show that I put on. But you're also really cool, and so I kind of want to like talk to you as a human
Yeah.
being, but you're only able to do that because that person's actually cool. Most of the folks that hit you up from the performer side of your life hit you up and they expect you to be 100% the
Yeah,
fantasy
the
that you provided them.
whatever character it is that you play in your online life,
Right.
whether
And you
it's,
can't.
whatever.
And here's the shitty thing. You can't be mad at
Mhm,
that. As much as I want to complain about that, as much as complaints I actually have about that I'd love to talk about, you kind of can't be mad at
mhm,
that because what you essentially did was you said, in order to make money, I'm going to create this
mhm.
facade. And there's going to be people that facade is exactly what I need it to be for them to spend money on me.
Yep.
You know, it's this completely fake thing. And when they come and they hit me up with ideas as if I was that fantasy. It's
I mean, so much of it too can be completely unrelatable and almost inhuman and strange and confusing. So, I
right.
mean, I don't know. Do you want to move on? I mean, it seems like we're sort of segueing that way anyway.
We are. We are.
So,
I just want to say before we get to that, I just want to say that you you it's weird. You kind of have to let those people
mhm,
know in in a weird voice that like how do you do it? How do you turn those people down? How do you turn those people down that try to cross the line? Because here's the thing with these folks, you give them exactly what you think is a perfect fantasy, but here's what you don't realize is that they fill in so many gaps in their own imagination that they come to you with this completely preconceived idea and you have to like answer to that,
mhm.
and it completely fucks you up. Like how what is I've been dealing with it for 13 years. How do you tell those people kindly to fuck off without hurting your brand?
I mean, so this moves into the entire thing of both of
Okay.
us are sex workers. Like, Jamie is
Right.
coming at this from a perspective of uh, being an escort and a cam girl and a video star and producer as well. I'm coming at this from being no pretty way of saying this. I was a bar whore. I was a bar whore for a long time.
I'm so interested in hearing what you have to say about this. What is a bar whore? Because this is a term I've never heard before, but I'm super interested in hearing what it's about. What's a bar whore?
Okay, so you know how there's sort of like the entire thing of like there's like in terms of just porn production, you've got like your Instagram models who will take a
Sure.
risque, not quite lewd but lewd photo and toss that up on their Insta for as many follows and likes and comments as they can get.
Right. Just safe enough for
Mhm.
work.
And then
Right.
you've got like your chatterbait guys and girls who will get,
Right.
explicit, but it's just them, in the comfort of their own home doing their thing.
Right.
And then there's the people who will, write, produce, and act and perform in videos, and it's like there's like a sort of spectrum there. It's the same with escorting. Like you've got, whatever you're doing with the escorting, whether it's clean and high class and you're like going out with guys or girls or whatever to, the freaking opera or whatever to be their arm candy. Or if
Right. Which
you
is the thing that is supposed to exist on
Mhm.
paper, but is actually does not exist at
Yeah.
all.
Or if you're the girl who's trying to knock down their student debt and get drunk at the same time, who's just like, yeah, I'll give you a half and half in the bathroom for 20 bucks.
Right.
That was me.
Yeah, I mean, as a sex worker, I can tell you straight up what the meat and potatoes of the common sex worker is. I mean, I know like the title escort on paper is supposed to be a certain thing. It's supposed to be, I'm a piece of arm candy that's gonna bring a CEO of a fucking oil corporation out to a gala for $2,500 for the night, and I'm just gonna be there being pretty. That's not what escorting is at all. What escorting actually is, hey, I'm a hooker, but I'm working from my house, and I'm $200 to $300 an hour, and you're gonna come here and you're gonna spend about 24 minutes with me, and you're gonna just like lazily, sadly spooge you know.
I've had plenty of
I'm
nights
gonna
that went
figure
like
out
that.
I'm gonna figure out what kind of dude you are, and I will be as enthusiastic or as low key as your temperament desires, and we're just gonna get this over with, and you're gonna pay me. and that's what escorting actually is.
Yep.
Um and I mean that's what it comes to, you know. Uh so I'm sorry, I completely interrupted you. I just wanted to interject
No,
that.
yeah, like that's completely what it was, and even on like the level that I was, it's like it was that same fucking sort of thing where it's just like, yeah, this bar ain't really hitting it off. You want to go someplace else? Yeah, you want to stop someplace in the middle? Yeah, okay.
So wait, real quick. Your MO was you actually went to
Yep.
bars to find your clients?
Like I had repeat clients who like had my phone number, but it's like in terms of like the base level thing, because like I didn't have like a lot of stuff. Like I didn't know that there were some of the resources that are out there. Like I didn't know about Backpage. Like I
Wow.
didn't know about, the different bad date websites. Like I didn't know about any of this shit. I was just this loner that had these feelings that, wanted to do this stuff. So it's like
Wow.
that's what I was.
Wow.
I was a
Wow.
postmodern pimp whore risking my life just to, help some guy get his rocks off and for me to pay down my fucking debts. That's what I was fucking
Wow,
doing.
that's really weird because like I'm probably 10 years your senior. How much are you?
I'm
What
27 this July.
Yeah, I'm 38. So I'm like 11 years your senior. When I was 22, I went to bars and I thought that being a hooker was a thing that could happen, but I never entertained the thought. And I went to a lot of gay bars at 22.
That's what
And
my scene was.
yeah, and I went there, but I went there and I went there with the actual intent to have a good time, to listen to music and dance around, get some
Mhm.
drinks. Um, I of course I was 22, so I did try to. I mean, I wasn't innocent. I didn't just go there to dance and drink. I went there, and on several occasions, I went there and I let myself play to the 22-year-old kind of
Mhm.
role, and I let older dudes treat me like a 22-year-old piece of ass, you know?
That's honestly where it
And
started for me at 21. So, I mean, shit.
but I never ever I knew that charging them way in the back of my head was a
Mhm.
possibility, but that's not where my head was at. I was more invested in just going through the experience of being a young
Mhm.
kid, essentially, and letting older guys have fun with me. That was the whole fantasy. That was the whole process. But it wasn't until a little later where I found that I got hit up with enough dudes that, oh, maybe this is a thing I can charge for. And then I started thinking about it. And it wasn't until a little bit later in my life, until I got into my later 20s, like 25, 26,
Mhm.
that I didn't actually start charging, for the thing. And I only ever charged on a dare. I mean, I was working at a fucking pizza place when some Bohemia fucking chick came up. She was a new hire. She saw me and she said, "Hey, you know what? I see you and I see a person that can fucking whore." Like that's
Wow.
how obvious I was, you know? And she said, "You should check out Craigslist." And I said, "What the fuck is Craigslist?" And this is me having experience in the gay
Mhm.
clubs, messing around with dudes, trying to have a good time, and she's bringing this like wellspring of information on me about, oh, I can make actually money
Doing this?
having sex, doing the thing that I'm predisposed to do. And she says, yeah, fucking dude, I was a fucking dominatrix in New York. You would fucking make a killing. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about? And I finally
Oh.
went and onto the fucking internet in 2005, and I hit up Craigslist, and on a lark, because of what she said, I fucking made a little ad, and it blew up like fucking gangbusters.
Damn.
And from that moment, from the age of 25 to this very day, is exactly what turned my life around. I've been a sex worker and a pornographer and a producer ever since. You know,
Well, hot damn, and
I'm sorry.
congratulations
I
as well.
completely took over the conversation.
No, that was an awesome fucking story. Like that's one of the reasons why I loved like doing one-on-one shows like that is like you can get stories like that out there. It's like you don't get that when you get like the clusterfucks of like 6 or 7 people on the same thing, and you can barely get a meme in edgewise.
You can barely get a meme in edgewise. I love it. Hey, honey, you got a page where you wrote down some conversation. We had 3 things. What was the? I feel. Are we close to the 3rd thing?
Yeah, we've got one more thing to touch on. So it's like
what we got?
We touched on social media a little bit. We touched on some of the sex work stuff that we've done. By the way, I got a ManyVids page that's going to be posting. Keep an eye out on Twitter for that within the upcoming week. And
I will spread your word like a motherfucker. Hey, in private, keep me updated. I will make sure that you're seen. Absolutely.
Thank you much. I mean, don't expect all that much until June when the studio is all set up, but stuff is coming.
Fuck the listeners. You talk to me. I'll take care of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
They'll know when it's time to know.
So we got a last thing to touch on. So, like, I don't know, like, if you can tell by our voices, like, if you know Jamie, then you know Jamie. If you know me, then you know me. Anyway, we're both a couple of trans people. A couple of trans women. That's what we do. We were born dudes. We're not chicks. That's what we are.
That's the way it goes. What are you going to do? Take away our birthdays? What are you going to do?
Well, apparently, call us men and call us by our dead names until the day we die because you don't have an XX chromosome. Fuck
There's
that.
drama.
Fuck that. 2 middle fingers up
What's
to both
going
turds.
on? What's this thing? What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is you just made a pretty freaking awesome announcement a couple of days ago.
What did I do? What did I do?
You're right now. You got a GoFundMe up right now to help pay for your FFS. That's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, well, real quick, I'm trying to get some folks to I'm trying to get my doctor, Dr. Harris, out of Plano. The guy that did my breasts is the guy that cut my nuts off. I want to get him to fuck with my face a little bit, chip away.
Oh, I can relate to that on so many levels.
And so I put up a GoFundMe campaign for that. That's the last thing I'm gonna do. I'm not using surgery's not a fetish of mine. It's just I started late in the game. And I got the hormone therapy a little late in life, and so I'm just trying to hopefully do what. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not going to kill myself over it, but I'm trying to do what I can do to chip away at the last little bits, and that's FFS surgery. That's female facial surgery
or facial feminization.
It's exactly what it sounds like. They're going to take a fucking scalpel and they're going to chip away at all the parts of me that look like a dude. Basically, that's all it is. And so yeah, I did. I made that thing, and I've already gotten some. I'm up to $75. It's like $5,000 to get the thing done.
That's a lot better than the quote that I got.
And there's no, yeah, there's no like you don't have to make it under the wire. You know, this campaign is forever, and So it's just gonna go until we meet the goal. That's all.
Well, I just figured I'd shout that out to see if I can get some of my tiny audience to sort of help you out. I
Well,
like that.
thank you, and I appreciate that.
That sort of
But
comes with the
so any
humanist sort of part of socialism and whatnot that I'm fucking trying to show right now. It's like
so
I can
anyway,
completely
with
relate
that
to
out of
that.
the way, what were you getting to?
So, like, you've been through a lot in terms of your transition. Like, you've had surgeries now, you've been doing this from not. I wouldn't necessarily say that you're doing this late in the game. I mean, yeah, you started this when you were what, 30, 32? I think you said was when you started.
Yeah, 32 is when I started my hormone replacement. So it's when I started taking
Yeah.
pills. 32.
So it's sort of weird. We're coming at this from like the same sort of angle, but like 7 years separate.
Right. Right.
It's like I first had the option to start transition when I was 13. And I didn't fucking take
Really.
it.
Wow. Wait. At
At
13,
13.
what option was given to you that
At 13, the option that I was given was we're going to do 6 to 12 months of observation. And then after that, we're going to do hormone blockers, or puberty blockers specifically, for at maximum another 2 years before we can do anything with hormone replacement therapy. That's the
hold
option that I
on.
was given as a kid.
Dude, wait, hold on, stop. Your parents brought you to, I assume, was an endocrinologist?
It wasn't an endocrinologist. When I was dealing with some serious shit in terms of like the receiving end of bullying and depression and everything like that. So it's like they saw that I was fucked up with depression, so they brought me to a psychotherapist, a clinical psychotherapist, the sort that can put you
Yeah,
on meds. They took me to
right.
one of those when I was 13.
And the synopsis was that you
Well, this
trans was brought up.
well, transition stuff was brought up on the personal level between me and the doctor. And on sort of the separate thing, because I was underage, like all of this was getting fed to my dad, primarily because my dad was the one that took me, so he was the emergency contact, so he was the one that the doctor was talking to. And as like they were like completely okay with putting me on fucking not Ritalin, but the other one that starts with an A, and freaking antidepressant, freaking uh, SNRI or whatever, or SSRI, whichever the fuck it was. And that shit messed me up. It made me a fucking zombie. It fucked me up to the point where when my doc told me this shit about fucking, going on to fucking, possibly going into hormones by the time I'm like learning how to drive, was, my reaction was, whatever. And I forgot about it. And my dad fucking canceled the appointment because he's a transphobic asshole and he didn't want to fucking have 2 daughters, one of which who has a dick. So, like, that's sort of like my start on this whole fucking experience.
Dude. You sit here and going way back to the first part of the show. You sit and you envy me. I sit here and I envy you. You had a doctor that even brought up trans shit when I was 16 years old. You were like a tiny child. When I was 16 years old, my parents dropped me off at a teenage mental medical facility because they thought I was gay. I mean, they were right, but but they dropped me off there because they thought that was like they thought that was a harmful thing. and they dropped me off at this thing. And here's the deal. There was everything I did was about transition. Like all the motherfucker. When my parents dropped me off at the mental facility, thinking that I was some kind of asshole, the doctors, all their like little games that they played, everything I did was about being trans. Like they said, make a mask of yourself. That's one of the things that they did. Make a mask of yourself. Here's some paper mache.
You drew a girl.
And I made a paper. And I made a paper mache mask that was all very femme and everything. It like everybody else like made monsters of themselves. All I did was made the most femme mask ever, and I handed it to them. And they didn't do anything about it. They didn't say anything about transition. They didn't say anything about anything. All they did when I was done with the 2 weeks that my parents that my parents' insurance could afford for the 2 weeks, they could only afford 2 weeks worth of insurance for me to be an inpatient at this mental facility. They didn't bring up anything about being trans. All they said to my parents was, your kid is completely sane. You shouldn't have brought him here. That's what it was. I was 16. You shouldn't have brought him here. He's fine. And he was very helpful to all the other kids that had big problems. And that's as much as I got. That's as much as I got from being a kid. This was 1997. I had no hope. That's why it was 32 before I went into transition. I mean, I was...
Fuck, hearing that fucking really tugs on my fucking heartstrings. It's like... And it's like, I look at this whole shit, and it's just like, I look at kids now, what they're able to get in terms of, like, transition help, and it's just like...
Dude,
these kids these days, it's just like, I see so much of the hate that they're getting, and it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Can they not understand the sort of pain that people like us go through? It's like, fuck, it's like, just looking at, I mean, what you went through, it's like, what I went through, it's like, the pain that I had with that shit, the pain that you had with that shit, it's just like, if we were so lucky to be born, like, when 9/11 happened, like, if we were born when 9/11 happened, holy fuck.
Right, exactly. That's the thing that I have. That's the thing that I have on my FundMe is that I was born 10 years too late. Honestly, I was born 20 years too early. But the thing that I have on my GoFundMe is I was born 10 years too early because I didn't grow up with the internet. I was already late into my teens when the internet was a thing. And by the time the internet was a thing, it was barely anything. You know, there was no information for trans stuff. Information for trans stuff didn't happen until about like maybe 5 years ago.
Oh.
So even if I had...
I don't know, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I started really...
maybe 10 years ago?
I started really looking into trans stuff, like, when I was in high school, so this was when I was, like, 15 or whatever, was when I really started cross-dressing and, you know, doing, like, femboy shit at school, and that's mainly because of shit that I found with, you know, fucking free porn websites that I was lying about my age to get onto.
Okay, I don't want to misspeak.
I was a bad kid. I'll be honest, I was a bad kid.
What I'm saying was when I was growing up, I grew up too early, and I was at the age that you wanted to transition. I had just barely got the internet, and
I mean,
even though I
guess.
had the internet in its early stages, there was no information about how to
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah, there was no information on it. Like there was the inkling of the possibility of, yeah, you can be born a guy and go through this medical stuff and this legal stuff to become a girl and become recognized as a girl. But there was like nothing on the in between on that. So it's like I really had no idea on it until I was
And
already
you
in
know
my
what?
20s.
You know what? I feel like a piece of shit complaining about it because I imagine the people from like I was
Mhm.
2000 when I got the internet on my own in my own home when I was 20 years old. I got my first apartment and I was able to have the internet. And there was nothing there for me. If there was, I didn't know how to find it, you know? But then I think about all the people in the 90s, in the 80s, in the
Oh my
70s,
god. It's like
and before that absolutely had
and
nothing.
it's like I look at people
And
like that and I
it
have
could
so much
only be
respect.
born of word of
I have
mouth,
so much
you
respect for
know?
people from that generation.
Right.
Like, oh my.
I
I mean, that
it fucking breaks my
I
heart.
know. And it's like that can be an entire video on its own, just like talking with trans elders. Like that's like a thing that can be done. Like shit. Like I want to fucking do that now. Like,
Yeah, now kids right
mhm.
now, they can and I know. And it's stupid to even say this because it's expected. But kids these days, they can fucking do whatever they want. And that's really dismissive. And I
I
don't mean to be dismissive, but kids really do have at least the information available to do what they want if they're ambitious enough to do it.
mhm.
I was ambitious enough to do it, but my ambition was only good enough by the time I was 32, you know? But kids that are 16, 13, 17, like they can just know about it
Yeah.
and they can find places to get
Mhm.
hormones,
I mean,
you know?
it's taught in schools these days, and I know because like I have like we've talked about like some of my family stuff before. Like I got almost equal parts in my family. Half of them are law enforcement, the other half are education. So it's like I got like contacts with talking with like my cousins who are, grade school and middle school teachers. Where it's like they're like, yeah, so it's like we have to sort of just like talk about this weird thing, and it's like me and one of my other cousins would be like, yeah, that's totally a thing that should be totally talked about in school. Like that's sort of important. Like she's cis and I'm trans, and like this is like a Thanksgiving discussion now, like for the last 2 years. Uh, and like some of my cousins don't get that, others do, and it's like I look a lot at like the options that a lot of these kids have these days, and it's like then I look back at to like my education from that age, like going through like middle school and high school sex ed classes, and it's like the nearest thing that they would get to it was guys are XY, girls are XX. Some people are gay. All right, now we're going to talk for the next 2 weeks about the menstrual cycle. Like that's what my sex ed classes were, and
Wow.
it's like that compared to like 5 years later when I was fucking taking education courses at college, like even like 101 classes, and I was just like, holy shit, it was so much different and so much more involved than what I had half a decade previous. And it's like, I don't know, it's amazing, this sort of just the progress that's sort of being made. Like, not even on the year to year, or not even on the decade to decade, or the year to year, but like almost seemingly on the week to week on this front. And it's like, shit, cool. This is awesome.
I see I see a lot of young girls that are in the like 22 to
Hmm.
23-year-old range that their complaints about life are completely different than the complaints that I have or I've had in life. And I mean, it makes sense. I'm glad that their complaints are what they are, simple, stripped down.
So
Um,
basic.
but 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 they're not they don't know the same kind of hardships that we had. Or I don't want to speak for you, at least that I had. Like they come up in a world where being trans is and I got to be really careful about
Oh,
saying
I know.
this, but
I know. I've sort of been
that
guarding
be
my
that
words like this entire like thing too. Just thinking, I don't want to misspeak.
right. I just see a lot of like 22 to 23-year olds taking being trans for
Hmm.
granted. The same way that I'm sure people in the 90s hated folks like me for being trans. Like you don't get it. You don't understand the hardships. You think the thing that you're going through is hard. Like, here's what I see. And this is just for, people to be interested in it. It's not actually a real problem. Honestly, it's not a real problem. But when I see young kids talk, I don't see them going through the hardships that we went through. I see them being able to supply themselves with HRT at a young age and taking it for granted. And the problems that they have nothing to do with transitioning, really. Um, that their problems are, oh well, I was misgendered today. I went to Starbucks and the girl behind the counter, she just didn't quite get it, and she said them instead of she,
It's
and
okay. So like,
and I'm like, dude, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
like,
That's not a problem at
like
all.
I don't
You
care.
you you are 16 and ordering your own meds from fucking
Mhm.
online because the internet is part of your life.
And it's
And so
awesome.
you just get to self-regulate and self at
Hmm.
16 and you're worrying about what people say about you. And I see your picture. You're you're a fucking perfect doll baby. Stop it. Why are you complaining about anything?
It's like, I mean, honestly, like I've sort of been in that situation of like misgendering. It's like there's like a sort of weird difference. Like I've noticed, like if someone can't tell, they'll probably use they or them pronouns. It's like that's completely fine if you can't tell what a person is to use they or them pronouns. That way, you're not fucking up on purpose. But it's like if you're going in there wearing like inserts, you got full makeup on, your fucking hair's done, your nails done, you're in a dress. But it's just like, yeah, you got an obvious Adam's apple and a brow ridge or something like that, like I got going on. It's just like, okay, if 9/10 of the things, like in terms of the social cues, are telling you she, why gonna go on the 1/10 of things that say call them he? Like that's my
You
take
know,
on it, at least, but
and I get that, and you're not incorrect. But I couldn't end this podcast without saying this last little bit. It's also a part of youth
mm-hmm.
culture. You know, young people get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
benefit just from being young. You
Oh my
know,
god, yeah.
you you could be a trans person, and so long as you're young, if you're within that, like, just for our viewers, for our audience to say, I was 17 to
Yeah,
23.
like I'd agree with like that sort of
You can
6 year range of like where if you start hormones in this range, you're gonna be completely passable with like no issues on surgery sort of thing.
right, right. We see these young kids that are quote unquote
Yeah,
perfect, and we see them complain, even though they literally have nothing to complain about because they didn't live in a time where their life could have been like again. I, and here's the perfect way to wrap it
yeah.
up. I'm 38. I'm 38 years old. Okay, I started HRT at 32, and I'm doing fine. I was doing fine from the age of 27 to today. I stopped working for a living on the grid, stopped doing a real job literally for 13 years. So I can't complain. I've made it work to my advantage, but it wasn't easy, you know? But when I see these kids being exactly perfect because of their age and because of all the advances they have in our day and age with the internet the way it is and the
Not only that, but the medical
the
practices too have advanced so
yes,
much.
yes, the things that they have access to. I'm saying why complain? The why I would give anything to be you right now at 22 years old with all these advantages, you know? And they feel like the world's blowing up. But you know what? That really has a lot less to do with being trans and a lot more to do with just simply being young. It really does. This is kind of gone beyond what it is to be trans, and we're actually more talking about what it is
Be young.
to be young, to kind of envy youth.
I know that seems like a really spot to end it. Been going for coming up on in 10 seconds an hour. Shall we cut it at
Oh,
this?
it's only been an
It has
hour.
been almost an hour since we started recording.
So let me fucking wrap it up. Let me tell these kids this. Kids, fuck you. You don't know what it is to be hard.
And
And I just had my roommate pull a prank on me. Hold on.
way to go, Stephanie! Fucking pranking Jamie.
And here, kids, you think you have it bad? We thought we had it bad. Every preceding generation is going to think they have it bad. So, enjoy some pain.
Alright, so in an outro, I would say thank you for those who stuck around this long to hear, two quote unquote middle aged trannies, spouting on about this, that, and the other. And oh my lord, am I gonna get a spanking from my fiance for saying that word? But I don't care.
Say it again. I missed it.
Tranny.
Tranny.
Did you get a shiver saying it? I got a shiver saying it.
It's just a word. I mean, like, I don't like, dude, seriously. The whole tranny thing about 3 years ago, I was really on top of wanting to keep the word tranny around, because I was fighting for the right for people to say what they
Yeah.
want, despite people's feelings. And over time, I mean, you know it. You're a fan of my
Yeah.
show. Eventually, I went from Ask a Tranny to TGQ&A. You know, it's just not a hill I want to die on.
It's not a hill I'm gonna die on either. I'm at the point. I'm 4 cans of beer in. I haven't slept in. What is today? Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't slept since Monday. I'm at the point where the filter is gone and the care is gone.
And this is what adults get to do.
Mm-hmm.
Adults get to say things and go to sleep and feel fine because we know we're not shitty people. And young kids will fucking fuck with us all day long because they're not adults yet and they don't get to sleep
Well,
with
I'd more say that I'm sort of, well, I guess the word would actually be, to bring it back to the beginning, envious of the, because they actually sleep easy. They've got a guaranteed bed. They've got guaranteed food. They've got no real worry. Got their stuff covered. Like, for those out there who are in the adult world trying to make ends meet, it can be stressful and that can lead to such long nights where you're sitting there thinking, what can I do to
You're
try
right.
and pull together just $20 more so I don't overdraft paying my bills? That's sort of the seat that I'm in right now. I mean,
Kids get to complain. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Kids get to complain. I don't get to complain so much.
I don't like complaining. I hate complaining. I just sort of try and stiffen up my upper lip, cry to myself while I'm trying to get to sleep, and keep on fucking on to get my shit done. And I think that's gonna bring us to a close tonight.
Yep, I'm going to tie a bow on this right now. And I will always end a podcast with this in lieu of sage words. Here's what I will always say. This is from Billy Joel. It's from a song called James, and it's here's the
I love that
lyrics.
song.
Do what's good for you, or you're not good for anybody. And that's it. Do what's good for you, or you're not good for anybody. And out.
Thank you.
Plugs. Here we go.
All right, jokingly, thank you guys. This has been the Approximate Graveyard.
Good. Good deal.
It has been a wonderful time spent with you, Jamie, and you, the wonderful audience who I didn't get the chance to interact with tonight because we filmed this morning.
Yeah. From the date that we're recording this, which is what, the 3rd of
Yeah,
May?
it's the 3rd of May.
Yeah, you'll probably guys hear this on like the 5th of May.
Yeah, probably
So.
the 5th. So have a wonderful night. Thank you, Jamie, for joining me. Well, we're definitely going to be talking more because I got some questions for the future for once we're done recording.
Don't stop. Keep going. Kill time.
Kill time. Add runtime. Okay. You can reach us in terms of Jamie at approximatepodcast@gmail.com. You can check out her mothership at approximatepodcast.com. Of course, we both have Twitters. Jamie is TS, Jamie French at twitter.com, if I remember correctly. Mine is Fox Tweets, of course. That's FAWKS. She has an amazing YouTube channel as well. I highly suggest you check that out, unless you're watching it there, in which case I highly suggest you check out youtube.com/c/Wred Fawks as WREDFAWKS. I'm pretty sure that's everything.
Yes, I'm gonna play us out with a song.
Fucking
Here
awesome.
we go.
Ah, fucking cut out.
It was me. It was Foxy. And we were doing this on podcast. Motherfucker podcast. Oh, motherfucker podcast. It's on. Okay, everybody, good night. Good night. We'll see
Good
you
night.
later.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you.